Good day, everyone. Let us continue our discussion on obligations of the partner. So, basically, this is the second part of our subject. So, what are then the obligations of partners? Before we'll tackle about the obligations of the partners, we'll talk about first what are the relations being created if there is a contract of partnership. So, first one is there would be as a consequence of the contract, the relations between the partners, there would be relations between the partners on one hand, and then the partnership on the other hand, and then there would be relations between partners on one hand and third persons on the other hand. So, and last one is there would be relations between the partnership and the third person. So, given that relationship being created by the partnership contract, as a consequence to that, there are corresponding rights and obligations wherein each of the partners has to perform. So, for now, take up the obligations of the partners among themselves. So, we've mentioned already last time that when case, as an example, that A and B entered into a contract of partnership, if A and B formed AB partnership has a juridical personality. It means to say that there would be um three persons in that scenario, and then there are four relations being created. So let's now discuss the different relationships on my scenario as what I have discussed already. So when two are persons A and B in my example form a partnership, different relations may arise such as relations between A and B, relations between A and B on one hand and the partnership on the other hand, since the partnership had acquired a juridical personality, and then relationships between A and B on the one hand and third persons on the other hand. This is in cases when A and B has to um, engage into an undertaking with third persons. So since they're mutual agents of the partnership, then the relationship exists. Relations between the partnership and the third person. So those are the four relationships rather that are being created. So as what I've said, there is a consequent obligations and rights. And first obligation of a partner under this topic is that on the first test of whether or not diba, we have to determine whether there exists a partnership contract is whether or not there is a mutual contribution. So the first obligation of a partner is to give his promised contribution to the partnership, and then as well he is prohibited of converting the partnership's money or property for his own use, or he would be liable for estafa. Not to engage in unfair competition with his firm. So basically, any business which is of the same kind as the partnership, right? So yun po, another prohibition is um, sa capitalist pa at saka sa industrial partner, there is a prohibition with regards to this obligation. So as well to account for and hold as trustee unauthorized personal profits. Unauthorized personal profits, those profits which are derived without the consent of the partner. So if you have that, if you have acquired such, you are just a trustee holding that one in on account for the partnership. You have the duty to credit to the firm payment made by the debtor who owes him and the firm. So there is a corresponding rules as well to that. This is quite broad as well, so we'll be discussing that one later on. To share with the other partners the share of the partnership credit, which has he received from the firm's insolvent debtor. So aside from the obligations, we have some rights. The first right is there are property rights that a partner possess under 1810. So first one is right in specific property. So this talks about any property that you have contributed to the firm. Therefore, you have specific partnership right to that property. And then second one is interest in the partnership. So basically, as the partnership is characterized by community of interest, so there which should be sharing of profits and losses. It should be your right. And then you have the right to participate in the management, except for a limited partner who is not given the right in the uh, management of the partnership. Other rights include the right to associate with another person in his share. If you could recall the concept of sub-partner, way back that we have discussed it already in the first part. And then right to inspect and copy for the partnership books. You have the right, this one is for a reasonable hour. We'll be discussing as well this later. And right to demand a formal accounting, right to ask for the dissolution of the firm, invalid causes, and at a proper time. So, let's discuss naman what is the rule if contributions have not been actually made. So, as what I've discussed, it is your obligation to give to the partnership what you have promised. So, generally, even if contributions have not yet been made, the firm already exists for the partnership is a consensual contract. So if of course all the requirements as to the formalities under 1670 and 1673 that it should be, if in case that there will be real property and real rights being contributed, it should be made in a public instrument, right? So and it should be registered with the inventory, with the RD. But the question now is that would could be considered that the partnership has commenced. Ano? So, as a rule under 1784, and which is related to this one, a partnership begins from the moment nga the execution of the contract. Since the contract is consensual, all the valid requisites should be present. Exception lang is if the partners can agree on some other date for the start of the partnership or for the commencement of the partnership. So, it means to say that yung execution or signing could be done some other time than later date ang kanilang gagawing commencement or start ng partnership. So the question now is when it comes to juridical personality. So we could assume that from the period of the signing or execution of the contract to the commencement date, wala pa po tayong na-acquire na juridical personality. So, yun, a very important na part. So let's now talk about duration of the partnership. This falls under Article 1785. So let's tackle the important points. We have discussed before regarding a partnership with a fixed term, a partnership with a party for a particular undertaking, and then for partnership at will. So, classifications natin yun when it comes to classifications of partnership as to the duration. A partnership, this is the same as a corporation. A partnership has an unlimited duration, or no time is being fixed by law as to how long should it exist. The duration may be agreed upon then expressly when there is a definite period, or impliedly when because of a particular na undertaking. So it is understood that the firm will end as soon as the purpose has been achieved. And then let's have a again, partnership at will, a classification under the duration. So we've known this one. If there is no fixed term, there is expressly or impliedly, then it's a partnership at will. O di kaya man, if a partnership which is an end term or a fixed term, but still, even though or undertaking, but even though if it's already, the undertaking has been finished or the end term has expired, still the business has continued. In that case, yung continuation is a prima facie evidence that the partnership also continues. So it could be classified now at will because its continued existence really depends upon the will of the partners or even on the will on any of them. So we have now the three important duties of every partner. This falls under Article 1786, the obligation of every partner. There are three. First one is the duty to contribute what have been promised to the partnership. So here, this is the first test that we have to take into account, diba? When it comes to whether or not a contract of partnership exists. The question now is that what would happen if there would be failure to contribute? So basically, the treatment with that to that would be the partner who have failed to contribute would become a debtor of the partnership, and no demand is needed for that. This falls under the exception dun sa ating mga obligations na tandaan ninyo na ang general rule ay there is no delay when there is no demand. So eto yung exception, ano, kapag there would be a promise of contribution to the partnership, no need for demand, automatic nagde-delay if you don't deliver what you have promised. And then consequently, in case of failure to deliver for that specific contribution you've promised, is that the remedy for this one, take note, it's specific performance with interest in case of bad faith, interest and damages occasioned on such failure, and it should not be recession. So another is that arising from your duty to contribute things or money is a corresponding duty to deliver for fruits of what should have been delivered from this first part, ano. So if that thing have produced some fruits, it should be delivered without any demand as well, ano. So if in case again, if the partner is in bad faith, he would be liable not only for the thing itself but also for the fruits plus damages and interest to that. So kapag yan ay money, then that partner who failed to do so, he would become a debtor of the partnership, tapos interest and damages from the time that he should have complied with the obligation. Yung duty to warrant or obligation to warrant is that in case of warranty, in case that what you've promised ay specific or determinate things, ano, so that you would want to contribute for the partnership. Then, let's say for example, you've promised to deliver a building, then it turns out nagkakaroon ng problema. You should be notified to that by the partnership. At the same time, you would be answerable for whatever would be, if it would there would be a case to that, you would as well be liable, ano. So because you have warranted that it is free from all liens and encumbrances or whatsoever dun sa ating contract ng partnership. Let's now go for the duty to contribute. Oh, we have discussed this one. So, what's the essence basically? The contribution must be made ordinarily at the time the partnership is being entered into, ordinarily, unless a different period is stipulated. So, this has been given as an example. So, in either case, no demand is needed to put the partner in default, because in a partnership, ang time is of the essence. Kung walang contribution, the partnership would become useless. So, importante yon. So, what else? The partner must exercise due diligence in preserving the property to be contributed before he actually contributes the same. Otherwise, he can be liable for losses and deterioration. So there would be instances as well, ha, na um, pwedeng i-deliver mo sa partnership, not aside from money, property, pwede ding mga goods, ano. So, the duty to deliver the fruits. If property has been promised, the fruits thereof should also be given. So, the fruits referred to are those arising from the time they should have been delivered without the need of any demand. If the partner is in bad faith, then liable shall not only for the fruits, but also for those that could have been produced. If money has been promised, interest and damages from the time should have complied with the obligation under 1788, and then no demand is necessary. who owns then the property before it is delivered? So technically daw, in case of money or property, it is the partner who still owns the same before the delivery. For it is the delivery, mapa-actual man or constructive, that transfer for the ownership. So technically, as an example, let's say, for example, you've contributed the building or you contributed um, a delivery truck. So, kung hindi po napapalipat pa yun, actually, yung dinala mo yung sasakyan or constructively or yung susi, well, or symbolically, wala pong mangyayaring transfer. Still, you own the um, property, yung partner na nagko-contribute. The duty to warrant in case of eviction, this is a cases for specific and determinate things. So, here, there is eviction whenever by a final judgment based on the right prior to the sale or an act imputable to the partner contributing. The partnership is deprived of the whole or part of the thing purchased. The parties may, however, suppress, increase, or diminish this legal obligation. The partner who made the contribution should be summoned in the suit for eviction at the instance of the partnership. What nawala? Let's continue. Duty to warrant. It's lost. Why are you lost? What's wrong with you? So, what would happen? What would happen pala if what is being contributed by a partner are goods? So, if goods ang ikino-contribute ni partner, there is the necessity that there should be an appraisal, ano? There should be an appraisal. And how should the appraisal be done? So, normally, ang appraisal po kapag may goods po, it should be in the manner as prescribed in the partnership contract. Tapos kapag wala naman po tayong manner of appraisal, then it should be appraised by experts chosen by the partners. And then, ang prices po ay according to the current na value. So, it is very important that there should be an appraisal. Well, it's because of the idea, diba, na we know that during the sharing of profits and losses at the same time during the dissolution, if there would be no agreement as to how much should be the percentage of sharing, ay di ba according to capital contribution, if we have no account or inventory of how much being contributed, then magkakaproblema tayo. Then that is why it's very important that there is an appraisal in cases of goods, inventory in cases of property, real property na immovable, and then inventory of which or any personal property at the same time money to the partnership. That is under 1780, 1787. So that is in order to know the monetary value of the contribution of that partner as of the date of contribution, that could be very helpful pala for the future operation of the partnership, just like in the accounting of profits of losses of the um, partner. So, tatandaan natin, 'di ba? In the absence of stipulation when it comes to sharing of the partner's profits and losses, it would be in proportion to what they have contributed. So kapag wala po tayo ay accounting would be a problem. So by now, you have already known that there would be cases covered of liability for damages and interest, as what I've mentioned a while ago. In cases that a partner promised for money in the partnership or property not and was not delivered, on a certain given time, 'di ba? So, yun po yun. And then in cases then when there would be money of the partnership, yung conversion na tinatawag natin, he would use it for his personal or the partner's own use. So in those cases, magkakaroon po tayo ng liability for damages and interests. Ano? So, for the contribution. I think that concludes the first part of this section. So when consists of goods, you need an appraisal. Why is it that that part? The warranty in case of eviction, we know that one already, and becomes lost. Consists of goods. So appraisal is necessary. Proof is needed to determine how much goods or money has been contributed, and inventory, therefore, is useful. And then who bears the risks of subsequent changes, such as loss on the value of the property. So, after the goods have been contributed, it is the partnership that would be bear for the loss. So, why no demand is needed to put a partner in default? Because time is of the essence. We've mentioned this one already. A partnership is formed precisely to make use of the contribution, and this should start from its formation unless a different period has been set. Otherwise, the firm is necessarily deprived of the benefits thereof. Thus, the injury would be constant, and in case of conversion, because the firm is deprived of the benefits of money from the very moment of the conversion. So, both in these instances, diba, as what I've mentioned, these are covered with liability for a partner who have failed to do that would be liable for damages and interest for this two scenario. Okay? So that ends the first part. We'll have a second part para hindi masyadong mahaba at nakakauta. That concludes